right now. Yeah, I'm really after this season, after seeing what I see this season, I'm pretty much done with college basketball the way it is in today's landscape. I mean, and I don't want to be controversial, but I'm going to. In today's world of looking out for the little guy, or talking about the underdog. Look, that's not what college basketball is really about. I know you think it is, but it's really not. And I want you to understand why it is that way. Because you know as well as I do, revenue drives everything. That's just the way it works. Those little teams are never going to drive revenue the way the big established programs will. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And so that's what we need to understand, is that, in today's world, you have to stick with what works. What brings in the fan bases and the money? Programs. I know it sounds cruel. I understand that, but you know what? That's the way it works. That's the way you drive the engine. That's the way you keep the motor running. If you don't do that, it doesn't matter how you feel about it. It doesn't matter if you feel like, oh, the underdog deserves a chance. Oh my goodness. Well, you know what? The underdog is ruining college basketball in today's world. They are. They're simply ruining it. So I have some solutions. I'm going to tell you how we're going to fix this problem. And one way we're going to do it is we are going to have to do one of two things. Either we are going to have to get rid of the auto bid in college basketball for the NCAA tournament, eliminate it altogether, or we're going to have to add many more teams to the NCAA tournament. That's the only way around this. And I'm gonna give you a few facts. And I know you may not like these facts, you may not be happy about this, but I'm gonna tell you a few little truths about college basketball. Okay, the first truth is that the bottom four seeds, I'm going to say from 13 to 16, that would be 13, 14, 15, 16, guaranteed. Those teams, okay, there's four each, so that's 4 times 4 is 16. So there's about 16 teams in college basketball that are not even as good. They're not even as good as the teams in the middle of the Power 5 conferences. That's just a fact. So, for instance, I'll give you an example. Here's an instance for you. A team like, let's pick NC State in the ACC. A team like that is far better than a team, for example, like, Southwestern Missouri State. No, I'm not even sure if that team's in the hunt for an auto bid this year, if they're good enough to even, doing that. But let's just say they are. Let's use them as an example in their conference. They win their conference tournament, and now they're automatically in the NCAA tournament. Congratulations, you're a 14 seed or whatever you were. And here you are. You made it. And goody for you. Awesome. That's going to really make money for, it might make money for the school itself, but it's not going to make really any money at large. It's not going to make more money. It's going to hurt college basketball as a whole. Okay, that's the way it is. That's a fact. Okay, so here's how we look at this. NC State is now fighting for their life to get into the NCAA tournament. Let's say, for the sake of argument, they lose in the first round of their conference tournament. Now, chances are, if that happens, some other team might steal their bid. Maybe they were going to get an 11 seed or a 12 seed, and someone just stole their bid. Now, what that means is that they were a better team. In other words, if you put them up against a team like Southwestern Missouri State, they're going to crush them. And how do you know that? Because in the beginning of the season, all of the major conference teams, they play against some of the smaller conference teams, and even some of the better ones in the smaller conferences. Usually the score is very lopsided. And even when it's not lopsided, usually the Power 5 conference team handles them. And I'm talking about, the top teams in the power conferences. I'm not talking about the teams in the 1, 2, 3. I'm talking about teams 7, 8, 10 in some cases, are still beating these other teams badly. And before you talk about the upsets in, the NCAA tournament, like the 16 seed that beat a 1 seed, 2 years ago? It happens so rarely that it's not worth talking about. You don't give the farm to someone who, got lucky with the lottery, okay, and they win the lottery and they want to buy a farm. They know nothing about farming. They just want to buy the farm. You're going to give the farm to them and say, well, here, you can I'll sell this to you. What are the chances that that farm's going to succeed if some guy wins the lottery and just buys a farm and doesn't ask for any help? He just goes out there and starts doing what he thinks is right. No. Chances are it's going to be a failure. So that's what we're talking about. Some of these smaller conference teams, they win the lottery, but what happens? They really, most of the time they don't win. And when they do win, all they really do is help the team that was supposed to face the bigger opponent in the second round, and they help that team win. So they're really not they're not going to go much further. That's just a fact. It happens so rarely. And I realize you talk about the 5-12 matchup. Now, the 5-12 matchup traditionally has been a more intriguing matchup because somehow the 12 tends to beat the 5 more than a lot of the other lower seeds beat the upper seeds. It's just one of those things. My theory is, I'll give you my theory. My theory is that the 12 seed is not really, most of the time, is not really a smaller conference team, like one of the really small conferences kind of won the lottery, got the auto bid. It does happen, but most of the time it's maybe a mid-conference team, maybe a team that's not quite Power 5, or maybe it is a Power 5 conference team that was somewhere in the middle that got that 12 seed. And that's why. You're playing a 5 seed, they take the team lightly, and that team is really not one of the teams that didn't deserve to be in there. Once you get past the 13 seed and go up into 12 and 11 and 10, then you're getting into teams that really deserve to be there, that actually have a shot. Okay, that's where we're getting at. That's what we're talking about, based on the way they do seeding now, the way they allow who they allow to be in the tournament, and that's all because they're allowing these smaller conference teams with the auto bid. Now, when I was a kid, I believe it was only 48 teams were in the NCAA tournament, and there was even fewer before that. So, you had to be really a good team. You had to be pretty much, close to top 20. You had to have that kind of talent level and skill. And now it's different. Now they're letting everybody in, but they're not letting in some of the teams that are even better. So here's my solution. And it could be one of two things. The one solution was, like I said, get rid of the auto in. But remember, that hurts revenue. It does hurt revenue. So how are we going to help revenue? Here's what we do then. I have a solution for everybody. We are going to add, instead of only 4 teams like they have now with that first 4 format, which is okay, but we can eliminate that. We really don't need that. We're going to add 32 teams instead of 4. So we're going to have 96 total teams involved in the NCAA tournament. And here's how we're going to do it. We're going to have the top 32 teams, which is the top 8 seeds, get a bye. They're going to get the first round bye. They're going to sit out. And then you're going to have the 9 down to, the 24, or however you would set that up. You're going to have 64 teams playing to be in the 32 that will face the top 8 seeds in the second round, or if you want to call it the first round. And you can have the opening round, the qualification round, whatever you want to call that. So I think that's what we need to do. We need to get rid of this concept that you only need 68 teams or 64 teams, and that we're going to let these automatic qualifiers, who are actually, it's kind of a cheat. You're actually cheating the middle teams in the major conferences. You're cheating those teams because they're good enough to be there. They should be there. If you're ranked like 10 to 5 in a conference, if you're like ranked 10 to 5, you deserve to be in the NCAA tournament. If you're in a Power 5 conference, I'm talking ACC, SEC, Big 12, Big 10, and of course the Pac-12. If you're one of those conference teams and you're in the middle, you should be in the tournament every year. If you're in that middle, like I said, 10 to 5 range, you deserve it. And you might even go a little bit lower some years, depending on how some of the smaller conference teams stack up and some of the mid-conference teams stack up. But I think we're looking at it wrongly here. So you have these 32 teams. Instead of the 16 at the bottom, you have 32 teams facing off in an opening round for the right to play one of the top 8 seeds. That's how we do this thing. And then, of course, here's the beauty of what can happen. Here's what we can do. We can also say that the 32 teams that lose in that opening round, they actually get to fill out the NIT field. So it's kind of an exciting twist. Essentially, if you're in the NCAA tournament as one of the bottom seeds from 9 down, you actually get to compete to go to the first round of the NCAA tournament. And if you don't even make it, you still have a tournament you can go to. You have something to look forward to. So it's a win-win for everybody. And I think that's the direction we need to go in. Because frankly, the NIT tournament has pretty much lost its throughout the years. It's pretty meaningless. And I think let's bring meaning back to it. And the only way to bring meaning back to it is to incorporate it into the NCAA tournament. Make it part of that tournament. If you lose in the first round, you continue on to the NIT, and you can still win a championship. It may not be the national championship. You're not the very best, but you can still win a championship and be also involved in the NCAA tournament. I think it's a fantastic idea. I think we need to implement it immediately because we have so many terrible finishes in college basketball. You got these teams that they have a huge fan base. A lot of these Power 5 conference teams have huge fan bases. They look forward to this every year. They pour a lot of money into the program. They pour a lot of money. They buy their merchandise. They go to the games. They watch it on TV. You pay for that. I mean, everywhere you're paying for it. And what do you get for it? You get nothing. Many of you then get nothing. If you're outside the top 5 in the Power 5 conferences, you're looking in. You're not going to be going to the NCAA tournament, chances are. Some of the conferences do, like the ACC usually can get 7 to 10 sometimes, not all the time. This year, it's a down year. They're probably not going to get more than 3 or 4. So you're talking about, guaranteeing something good for the fan bases. Guaranteeing something fantastic. And the beauty of it is if you add 32 teams to the NCAA tournament, you might even be pretty much adding almost every team from the power conferences into the tournament, which is, I think it's great. I don't care if people, how do you have excitement from that? There's no excitement during the season because you already know you're pretty much in. You don't have to really do that well. It's not really true, first of all. You still have to hover around 500. You can't be a team that only wins 5 games in your conference and think that you're going to get into the NCAA tournament. I mean, maybe you could have some kind of a rule like that even if you're in the middle of the pack, let's say it was a really, really down year for that conference. Let's say you only win 5 games. Let's say you have to be at least 500 in conference, or at least maybe win 7 games or something. Come up with a number, something solid. Come up with a number and say that you got to win at least 7 games in your Power 5 conference or in any conference, and you have to of course some of them you still have the rule where you can win the auto bid in the conference tournament, so you still have opportunities where as far as where you're going here, you have a lot of chances to make something happen here. So I want to hear your comments, guys. Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? Do you want to see something a little bit different? Do you have a little different idea that's intriguing? I just think my idea is intriguing. I think it's inclusive. It adds everyone. It keeps the motor running for all these teams. I think it's more exciting when you're in, and now you're fighting for a seed. You're fighting to get that top 8 seed, one of the top 8 seeds, so you don't have to play in the opening round. So you actually have an opportunity to have a bye. And you don't have to worry about the opening round. And, looking forward to, if we lose, we still have the NIT we can go to, and we have a chance to win a championship. So many opportunities in that option. And when people say, well, that's too much basketball. Well, no, not really. If you think about it, we already have an opening round. And it's only 4 teams, but it's still, it's still, what is it, 8 teams, I think, whatever it is. It's, instead of 64 teams, it's 68 teams. And so you have just 4 extra teams there. So it isn't like what's the difference whether you have 4 extra teams or 32 extra teams. I don't think it matters. I don't think it really matters. I think what matters is that you're increasing the excitement level for so many other college teams. If you're a team that's been, let's say your team, this is what's exciting about it. What if you are a team in the one of the P5 conferences that really hasn't done well? You've come so close every year. You weren't necessarily a cellar dweller every year, but you were so close. You were always winning close to 500, around 500, and you always seem to be snubbed. You're one of those college programs that just seems to get snubbed nearly every year, sometimes every year. This gives you an opportunity to make it almost every year. Now you bring up the excitement level for that team, and you're really still not hurting the smaller college, conference teams, because they're still going to they're still going to get their shot, or at least many of them will. So you're not really hurting anybody, and you're helping. So I think that's the beauty of this. It's a win-win for everybody. Guys, I want you to share your comments with me. Tell me if you agree with me. Tell me if you don't. I don't even care if you don't agree. But I will ask you one request. I want this from you. If you don't agree with me, I want you to give me a valid argument why. Give me something good to think about. Don't just say your idea is trash because whatever we have, because there's too many teams now and it's not exciting. But I don't want to hear that. I want to hear why. Give me good reasons why. And maybe give me alternative solutions to this problem, why college basketball is becoming worse and worse every year. Give me a solution. Give me a better idea if you think you have one. I want to hear your comments. And once again, guys, thanks for watching. One more thing before I go, please subscribe if you want to hear more from me, even if you don't, if you want to argue with me. Subscribe and hit that notification bell, because I want to hear more from you, and I definitely want you to see more of what I have to offer here. I'll see you guys later, and God bless.